your body. So the things that we will be covering in this presentation is the elements that are fighting for your body, important fruits and vegetables that have these elements in them, and then a food for thought with fun facts at the end. So what are phytochemicals? So what are phytochemicals? These are the biological compounds in plants that are used for the plant to defend itself usually, but they also contain medicinal properties that helps us humans to be able to flourish in our health. They add to the color of plants and also the scent and smell, and they also help with carcinogens. Usually they will either reduce or help to prevent cancerous ailments from occurring. And then they also have antioxidant properties which help reduce free radicals. And free radicals usually interfere with the different chemical reactions that occurs in your body. And when that happens, it does not lead to good things. So some of the phytochemicals, there are categories of phytochemicals, and flavonoids is one of the categories. And these contain fruits and vegetables that have flavonoids in it have antioxidant properties. They help ward off toxins, and they decrease risk of chronic diseases such as cardiovascular disease. And they also provide blocking agents to prevent certain viruses and bacteria from taking over your body. And they also suppress certain things from happening. And then if there is a virus that's transforming things, they will be able to also transform the virus in a way so it won't be harmful to your body. And they also contain anti-inflammation properties, which usually occurs when an antigen enters your body. And then you have your terpenes. These are responsible for the aromatic aspect of your fruits and vegetables, which is why here on the picture you have your pine and lavender, which has very pungent smells. And they also help with aromatherapy. Usually aromatherapy has been used to alleviate stress. It clears the airways, helps brighten up moods depending on which ones you use and things like that. Some can be helpful for muscle relaxation and things like that. And then there are also anti-plasmodial, which means that they help fight against parasites. And they also contribute to the taste, such as just like your flavonoids do. And they also help with antimicrobial activities. And then the last group that you have is your phenols. These are also aromatic compounds, and they contain antioxidation properties that helps prevent the free radicals from spreading throughout your body, and also helps tissues to repair itself and prevent the further damage of tissues. They have also been known to relieve sore throats when you're sick, and they contain antiseptic properties to help sanitize, keep things clean. Sometimes phenols can be used in soaps. And also they contribute to the taste of the foods that you eat. And as you see here in the picture, they're the dark berries usually, they're usually in foods that the colors are very dark. And here's a little video just summarizing what phytochemicals are.
Okay.
Where would that be found? Would it be here?
There we go.
Phytochemicals are compounds in plant foods that provide a wide range of important health benefits. For marketing purposes, the media has nicknamed many of these foods superfoods. While this term is pretty fancy, their benefits are too good to ignore. Carotenoids, flavonoids, polyphenols, and resveratrol are a few types of phytochemicals you may recognize. Since this is a hot topic in nutrition, there are currently a handful of phytochemicals being researched and studied by scientists who may discover many more. Studies have shown a diet rich in phytochemicals can reduce plaque buildup in your arteries and reduce your risk for heart disease. Studies of one specific group of phytochemicals, polyphenols, found in blueberries and strawberries, have shown a decrease in cancer cell growth. Fortunately for you, phytochemicals are found in a variety of plant foods, especially fruits and vegetables. A few common food sources with phytochemicals include blueberries, chili peppers, garlic, onions, citrus fruits, eggplant, tomatoes, and legumes. To increase variety, eating many different colors of fruits and vegetables is one step towards boosting the phytochemicals in your diet. Now, you may see supplements in stores advertising that they contain phytochemicals. While supplements are great in certain scenarios, you'll get the greatest health benefits from eating whole foods with this compound instead. Lastly, research is still ongoing to understand exactly how these foods impact our health. For more information, I recommend you meet with your registered dietitian to learn more about how you can increase phytochemicals in your diet.
And now we're about to learn about some of the various fruits and vegetables that contains these phytochemicals that will help us.
All right, hi. Today, Andisa and I will be talking a little bit about this. Do you mind going back to the last slide? Yep, so all of those phytochemicals and all of those flavonoids are really important for creating this variety of color that we see. And so we're just going to talk a little bit about a different vegetable or different one or two vegetables from each of these categories and talk about a little bit of their benefits in the next slide. Eggplant, which is our vegetable for purple, is rich in anthocyanins. Anthocyanins are an actual type of phytochemical, and what they do is that they are really important antioxidants that protect cells from free radicals, as we talked about. In addition, it reduces heart disease, and the way that it does that is that it reduces LDL cholesterol and triglyceride levels. Triglyceride being any calories that aren't used is going to be turned into triglycerides, which is going to be fat inside of the body if it goes unused. They are really high in fiber and phenols, and they're low in calories. Why is it beneficial that it's high in fiber and phenols? Well, fiber and phenols both help reduce sugar absorption and increase insulin secretion, which help lower blood sugar. And that low in calories is just an add-on that's just super great, because instead of, going for a chicken Parmesan, you can always go for an eggplant Parmesan. And a lot of these dishes that you would put meat in traditionally, you can put eggplant in because it's so high in fiber but low in calories. I think it's somewhere around like 3 grams of fiber for every 20 calories, which is really great. And also it has a lot of cancer fighting agents.
The next fruit that we have will be which would be blueberries. I thought it was really important, and I thought the biggest fact about blueberries is their high antioxidants content. I include this one because antioxidants, they're really great for neutralizing radicals, and radicals contribute to DNA damage, which contributes to aging, cancer, blood pressure. So also we have here that one serving of blueberries contains many benefits such as carbohydrates, proteins, calcium, and potassium and vitamin C. Go on to the next slide.
So talking a little bit about spinach is that they are super rich in magnesium, iron, and calcium. Magnesium is really important for increasing your metabolism, regulating your heart rhythm, and maintaining blood pressure. Iron iron is what allows the blood to kind of like go through your body. And so the tighter that your iron can kind of bind to that oxygen is the better that it's going to go through at your body. Calcium, instead of grabbing that glass of milk, always go for a handful of spinach because it has such great bone health properties for it. It also is really rich in antioxidants, lutein and zeaxanthin for eyesight. And it boosts immunity by thickening the mucous membranes. And so the mucous membranes that we have around our nose and also around our mouth are really important for protecting the entryways that different pathogens can get in and infect us with very harmful diseases. But the thicker this lining is, the less likely that those pathogens are going to get into our system to do some pretty bad damage. In addition, it's very high in potassium and it reduces blood sugar. And the way that it reduces blood sugar is by affecting the sodium in the body. And in the next slide, I'm going to be talking about bananas.
Okay, for our bananas, which is the yellow, I included potassium because I know a lot of us may catch cramps at random times. And what potassium does is it kind of balances the sodium content inside of the cells, and that helps with contraction. It also maintains bone health, improves muscle health, and kidney disease prevention. Again, as I mentioned, it helps keeping sodium outside the cells. Bananas are also beneficial because they contain many vitamins, and those vitamins contribute to metabolism, immune health, and protecting our body from harmful factors. I would say external factors such as cigarette smoke or pesticides if we live near a farm or a garden.
And mangoes. How can we forget mangoes? Mangoes are so delicious. And even more than that, they are so nutritious. The flesh, peel, and seed have over a dozen different phytochemicals. If you're a person that eats all of the mangoes, you're receiving so many different minerals and nutrients. Two of those specific phytochemicals that I would like to highlight are anthocyanins, as we talked about with our eggplant, and magniferin, which is really good for your heart, protecting against inflammation, oxidative stress, and cell death. In addition, that 1 cup of mangoes can produce 75% of the daily vitamin C that you need. And not only having vitamin C, but also having very high amounts of vitamin A, K, and B, and folate is critical for producing immunity in your system. And so producing more white blood cells to recognize and fight disease in the body. One of the most kind of special parts that I thought about mango is that it improves digestive health, because when you eat a nice juicy mango, it has so much moisture that comes out. That's really important for your digestion. And so if you are having all of this water and fiber, it actually has a special digestive enzyme that helps with there's actually a special digestive enzyme that actually helps digestion in the body. It's called amylases. And it's even been proven in studies that when you eat a mango in the same amount that you're going to be taking a soluble fiber, the mango is more effective at getting rid of that constipation in the body. In our next slide, we're going to be talking about dates.
For dates, our brown fruit, I would like to include that it is high in fiber. As we know that dates, they help you go better when we were younger. Our parents would give us dates to make us go. That's because they increase the amount of fluid that are allowed in our colon, and that increases bowel movements and thus prevents constipation. Another highlight is that it improves brain health. Studies show in rats that the rats had just been fed for a week for dates and just improved their cognitive health by improving their memory, reduce anxiety, increasing their learning abilities with certain tests. And labor, which I thought this one was really interesting. If you just consume 6 days on average, about 2 weeks before your labor, that would increase your cervical dilation and increase your chances of going into labor naturally instead of being dilated or induced.
And beets. Beets are this beautiful red color, and the deepness of that red color is really telling of their nutrient value that they have. Beets are really special because they actually contain at least a little bit of every necessary vitamin and mineral that you need for your body. Now, that is crazy to say that one vegetable has all of those types of nutrients in it. So special ones I would like to highlight are folate, which is really important for growth, development, and heart health. Manganese, which is important for bone formation, nutrient metabolism, and brain function. Copper especially is a mineral that's required for energy production and the synthesis of certain neurotransmitters. In addition, it decreases systolic and diastolic blood pressure using nitrates. Why should we care about our systolic and diastolic blood pressure? Well, systolic pressure is the force produced when the heart by the heart when it pumps blood out of the body. And so it's all of that work. You know, when you're going on a run and you feel like your heart beating out of your chest, that kind of pressure would be your systolic pressure. But your diastolic pressure is the pressure in your blood vessels when the heart is at rest. And so if you're, you know, just sitting, you're going to really be kind of having what your pressure is inside of your arteries. And the reason why these two are so important is that if your systolic pressure is too high, you could be at risk for heart disease, a heart attack, or stroke, because so many years of the heart beating double time is going to be really hard on your body. For diastolic, it can lead to aortic heart disease. Having an aortic aneurysm, you're going to have a almost like a bubble-ish form in the aorta. And if it ruptures, now you have a ruptured blood vessel. And that's not necessarily really great for the body to have internal bleeding like that. And in addition, it also boosts cardiorespiratory performance because it regulates the heart so well. They actually had like many studies where when athletes drink or eat beets at least like an hour, 2 hours before any type of track meet or any type of activity that they do, they actually performed way better because they had more oxygen going to the different parts of the body. And lastly, it has really great anti-inflammatory effects. And in the next slide, we're going to be talking a little bit about grapefruit.
Okay, we have grapefruit here, which is our pink fruit. And again, this flavonoid word comes up again, as Jada mentioned. Flavonoids are very important because they help with cell signaling, and that's really great for, I would say, prevention. So anything immune related. So it would help with anti-inflammatory or from damages that come from oxidation. Grapefruit is also great for insulin resistance. It reduces blood glucose levels in our bodies. And another one I wanted to mention that's not on the slide is that grapefruits, although they don't really taste good in my opinion, they're really great for the heart because they protect the heart. They reduce the buildup in arteries and relieve pressure on the heart. And they're also high in antioxidants. And as I mentioned before with the blueberries, antioxidants are really great for neutralizing radicals, which lead to DNA damage. So again, this slows the aging process, and it also lowers the risk of cancer.
All right, thank you all for sharing that. We're gonna jump into food for thought, and we're gonna just discuss cardiovascular disease prevention because this is a very prevalent disease within our community and globally as well. So you can go to the next slide. So what is cardiovascular disease? Cardiovascular disease, I'm also going to call it CVD. It can refer to a numerous amount of different conditions that include heart attack, heart disease, stroke, heart failure, and heart arrhythmia. And we see that this is the number one killer in the world among not only in the United States, but globally. This is number one, and about 18.6 million people die every year from this disease. And so I think it's important to highlight it and highlight the risk factors of it. So as you can see in the first figure, there are some risk factors for CVD. And that is one, I would like to point out is an unhealthy diet. So we're just going to talk a little bit about that throughout the rest of these slides. But I also want to note that with that it's also the #1 killer for women, and that they suffer heart attacks. And it's a threat to women because it's the most leading cause of death for them in the United States. And I don't think a lot of people know that. And so I think it's important for women to improve their health. And we're going to talk about how they can improve their health by eating a healthy diet, and just some other things that contribute, such as like exercising, maintaining a healthy weight, knowing your family history, and, not smoking and limiting alcohol. So as we go into these next slides, you will see, and I'm going to talk about next, the African American portion. You can go back. Yeah. So this infographic shows that African Americans are more likely to die from high blood pressure, diabetes, strokes, so things that lead to these cardiovascular diseases. In 2018, African Americans were 30% more likely to die from heart disease than non-Hispanic whites. And although African American adults are 40% more likely to have high blood pressure, they are less likely than non-Hispanic whites to have their blood pressure under control. So that is really big. So they'll know that they have it, but they don't know what to do to, either decrease their levels or maintain it from getting higher, their high blood pressure. So I think that's really important to note. And also I wanted to note that African American women have the highest rates of obesity or being overweight compared to any other group in the United States. And about 4 out of 5 African American women are either overweight or obese. And so in 2018, African Americans were 20% less likely to engage in active physical activity compared to non-Hispanic whites. So I feel like, diet as well as exercise contribute to a lot of the issues that we have in our community. And so in these next slides, I'm going to share with you how we can reduce this risk for CVD. So in the prior slides, Adriana and Adisa did a beautiful job of explaining and going into detail of what each fruit and different fruit groups do. And so I wanted to highlight how berries are a central role in heart health. And they play an important part because they're jam-packed with so many important nutrients. And so like they mentioned, they're filled with antioxidants, like anthocyanins. I want to make sure I pronounce that right. And also flavonoids. Strawberries have a lot of flavonoids in them. And I think that these studies have shown that eating lots of berries can reduce several factors of heart disease. And so you can even see in this example on the page how you had 120 middle-aged subjects with elevated blood lipids. They were given 160 milligrams of anthocyanins supplements or placebo twice a day for 12 weeks. The supplement increased their HDL cholesterol, which is the good cholesterol in their body, up by 14%, and it lowered the LDL cholesterol. We call those the lousy cholesterol, and it decreased it by 14%. So their cholesterol removal from cells increased 20%. And I also want to highlight another study where people were eating blueberries daily, and it improved their function of cells that line with the blood vessels, which help control blood pressure and blood clotting. So I think it's important that we try to at least eat one of these berries seen in front of you a day, because it can make a significant change in weeks. Not even, they didn't say years, it's weeks. So I think it's really important to just start while you're young. You can start right now to just start incorporating it day by day into your daily activities. That's the next slide, please. So grape goodness, I want to highlight how these grapes look. The cluster of the grapes is in the shape of a heart. I know you've probably seen maybe a heart on the internet, or maybe you've seen it in person or on TV, but this is how a heart looks, the shape of it. And each of those grapes look like a blood cell. And so I think it's important to note that these grapes have polyphenols, that have protective effects on the heart and blood vessels. And so eating grapes, studies have shown that eating grapes can reduce blood clotting, abnormal heart rhythms, and blood vessel narrowing. And it has lowered the blood pressure in your body in people that have hypertension. So I know my mom loves to eat grapes, so she's shown me, how to eat grapes. And I think it's important, if you find the grapes, that if you can find grapes that are with seeds, it makes it even better. I've seen a lot of like seedless grapes in the grocery stores, which are okay, but most of those have been GMO'd, because when you have a fruit, you're supposed to have the seed in them. So I feel like sometimes it takes away from the nutrients when you don't have the seed. So just try to be on the lookout for those that have seedless fruits versus seeds in the fruit, because I feel like they have more nutritional aspects in those with seeds. You can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. So now we're going to talk about tomatoes in the heart. And I looked at the tomato, and it looked like the tomato has 4 chambers, just like the heart has 4 chambers. And it's been shown, research has shown that these tomatoes are loaded with lycopene, and they are used to cleanse the heart and the blood within your body. And so, when you're cooking at home, if you use fresh tomatoes within like your spaghetti, or using fresh tomatoes on a sandwich, that would be a good way to incorporate the lycopene and clean your blood and clean, your heart of the different waste that might be going through your body and your cells. Thank you. So they've already talked about spinach a little bit, but I just wanted to highlight how spinach also has a great source of vitamin K, and this actually protects your arteries and promotes proper blood clotting from happening. And studies have shown that increasing a leafy green vegetable, whether it's spinach, kale, collard greens, they're found that it's associated with 16% lower incidence of heart disease. That's a lot. And I feel that having this in your diet throughout the day is really important, along with other vegetables that were seen earlier, and just incorporating all of them together. So maybe having like sauteed spinach, or maybe steamed spinach, or just eating it raw is good. But one thing you don't want to do is overcook your spinach, because when it's in the heat, in the heat for too long, it actually is taking and pulling the nutrients out of your vegetables. So just not overcooking it would be great, because you won't lose as much nutrients versus when they're raw. It has so many nutrients. But also I wanted to highlight avocados, because they're an excellent source of monounsaturated fats and potassium. And these help to lower your cholesterol and your blood pressure and your risk of metabolic syndrome. And so people have done studies on avocados and said that getting at least 4.7 grams of potassium from these avocados per day can decrease your blood pressure by an average of 15%, and lower your stroke risk as well. So you can go to the next slide. Thank you. And this graph is just to show how the stroke or cardiovascular disease, or all causes of mortality have decreased when you eat fruits and vegetables at least 3 times a day versus just once a day. So this is just a graph showing how all of these have reduced by incorporating all these vegetables, at least in your breakfast, your lunch, and your dinner, or at least in like having 2 types of vegetables in your lunch, or maybe having 1 type at dinner. Having those vegetables at least 3 times a day, or, you know, mixing it up can definitely decrease your risk for cardiovascular. All right, so I also just wanted to note really quick how important nuts and grains are in our diets, because they have unsaturated fats and omega-3 fatty acids like you can get from fish, like salmon. And they're really important because people have done studies that have showed that people who don't eat nuts or have almost never ate nuts versus people who do eat at least 1 ounce of nuts or five or more times per week have had 14% lower risk of cardiovascular disease and 20% lower risk of coronary heart disease. So at least, you know, incorporating that in one of your meals, incorporating pistachios maybe before you go to bed, or putting almonds in a smoothie, or just having peanuts on you for a snack, or some sunflower seeds is just really important. And it can be done. It's doable unless you're allergic to nuts, then don't try it at home. But if you're able to just eat that as a snack, you know, that would be really good to get that intake in as well. And so next is just a graph as well, showing how people had different types of nuts, and the highest one that showed that were really rich in phytosteroids were the peanuts. And so you can see from the chart on the right how eating nuts 1 to 4 times a week was almost as high as the eating them 5 times per week. But you can see like there was a change in the risk for diabetes when they ate it more. So the 5 times per week, at least eating it 5 days out of the week, it decreased the chance of getting type 2 diabetes significantly. So yeah, just be able to incorporate those would be really good as well. And so in summary, we've provided a list of different fruits and vegetables that will, and nuts and grains that will be able to help you receive the phytochemicals that your body needs to reduce these chronic diseases and different ailments that we are exposed to daily from our environment. And these can ensure that you receive optimal health if you're consistent. And I believe that, you know, when we start doing these things, when we start being an example to our children or our friends or our cousins, this will help us be able to diminish the high amounts of cardiovascular disease that we see in our communities and our world. And so just being in a meeting like this and getting information like this, you can be able to pass along and to share to others who may not know. And you'll be able to incorporate this in your daily lives and your food. So I hope you all were blessed by this. This is a short video of Dr. Baxter Montgomery. He's a physician in Texas who is focused on plant-based nutrition, and he's also a MD. So he incorporates that into his actual practice. So just enjoy this video. I hope you learned something from it, and I hope this blesses you all in your future endeavors. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Baxter Montgomery. I'm a cardiologist and cardiac electrophysiologist here in Houston, Texas. 13 years ago, we started integrating our clinical treatment with plant-based nutrition. So the heart here is in congestive heart failure. beating around 20 to 24%. Here it's beating about 50% after being on a plant-based diet for 78 days, much improved. Someone in her condition may have needed, surgery, could have needed a bypass surgery, she may have needed a defibrillator. She may have even, been placed on the heart transplant list. But instead of that, with plant-based nutrition, the heart improves significantly. And these are the types of findings we see on a regular basis. It's important for individuals to know that, despite how sick you are, we've seen individuals who are very ill. In fact, I've treated 2 different patients who were in the hospital on life support. One person on life support, we fed her green food through her PEG tube, and I detoxed her in the hospital, and she eventually walked out. So don't give up. We haven't gotten into the most fundamental aspect of our health, which is how we take care of the human frame. And it's as simple as plant-based food, fresh air, sunshine, and water. So there's a huge obsession with protein, and a lot of this has to do with the education of the nutrition and medical community, or perhaps miseducation, if you will, and protein is emphasized. The Western society, as with other societies, animal protein is a major component of what people eat. When I was growing up, you didn't have a meal if there was not, dead animal flesh on the table. Animal protein can trigger inflammation. It has adverse effects on the kidney. It can have adverse effects on the blood vessels, adverse effects on the heart. You get more than enough protein from plant-based foods. The most important nutrient, in my opinion, is water. The healthy human body in its healthy state is about 70-75% water. I'll pose a question. I say, well, if you were, left on an island and deserted for just, let's say 25 days, you can have 25 days worth of baked chicken, or you have 25 days of water. You can't have both, one or the other. And almost invariably, people choose the water because they know that they can't survive 25 days without water. As much as we emphasize eating the proper food, which starts and ends with a plant-based diet, it's also important to get fresh air and sunshine on a regular basis. So at least a couple of hours. Man-made rainbows. Oh, wow. Another patient who's currently in her mid-90s came to see us at the age of 89, and at that time she was taking about 22 medications, including about 40 units of insulin twice a day. And she'd been on insulin for 40 years. We put her on a raw detox, and we got off the insulin within a couple of days of her being on a raw detox. She's down to taking no medication the last I've seen, and she hardly has to come and see us as a patient. She's in her mid-90s now. I came into this arena as a traditional doctor, doing procedures and putting them on the optimal medications. However, when I made this discovery for my own health and then subsequently for my patients, I made a major change. As far as I know, we're the only facility in the United States that has an on-site plant-based restaurant that integrates it all in one. If I'm a physician who likes steak and eggs, it would be very difficult for me to counsel and aggressively counsel a patient away from eating these foods. This is our commercial kitchen, our restaurant, and the medical facility of the future will have a designated restaurant kitchen that functions not only from a culinary standpoint, but also from a scientific standpoint. We see individuals in severe congestive heart failure, which is often thought of as a death sentence. But when they make fundamental changes in the way they eat, they go from a death sentence to a life sentence. And that's an important differential.
I'm Patricia Wiggins, and this is my husband, Carl. He's Dr. Montgomery's patient. In this 3-week time, he's eliminated about 40 pounds of fluid from his body, and his mental clarity is much better, and he's now walking without his cane. When we came in, he could barely walk with the cane, and he had to hold on to me or to the wall or something to steady himself.
So what you can see here is a model of an artery, and there's several slices here. And when someone consumes a diet high in saturated fat, and saturated fat, by the way, is code word for animal protein fat. If you then start to look anywhere an artery has this amount of disease, you're compromising blood flow to that organ. And if a thin core ruptures, that's what leads to a heart attack. And so this predisposed to heart disease. This is the type of lesion that would be considered for a stent placement or for bypass surgery. However, you can reverse this type of disease with optimal plant-based nutrition. It was that severe.
He wanted to make food our medicine and not pharmaceuticals. The added bonus is the fact that he is an MD, he is a cardiologist, he does know that part of medicine, and he's not against it if it's needed.
So if you were to look at all of the healthcare facilities here, all the hospitals, all the emergency rooms in this expansive medical center, and we were to walk around and search for one patient who was suffering from protein deficiency, we'd be challenged to find one. In regards to the prevalence of heart disease among different ethnic groups, the CDC clearly shows that African American women have the most heart disease in terms of prevalence and morbidity and mortality from heart disease. Next to them would be African American men. More women die from heart disease than men in general, and then more African American women die from heart disease than any other race, gender segment that we know of. Availability, convenience, these are all important things that I find, and I think it's going to make a difference the more we make the food available. People do not realize how delicious plant food is. At the end of the day, it's going to be the food that makes the difference. I have a lot of friends who are ethical vegans, and I applaud you. When I came into eating plant-based, I wasn't aware of the horrors that happen to animals, and I think there's more messaging needs to come about with that. The other aspect of being ethical vegans is that we have to look at our own bodies, and we have to be ethical to ourselves first and foremost, because if we're not healthy, then we can't be a benefit to others, animals, etc. So I often tell my patients that the number one animal you want to be ethical to is yourself. So foods that are minimally processed, raw, you want a lot of live foods that has the water content is maintained. These are going to be some of the most healthy foods, and if it is cooked, you want to either dehydrate it at relatively low temperatures, boil or steam it. And these are some simple approaches that individuals can take to consume a diet that's not only healthy for the environment as a whole, but also healthy for your local environment, which is your body. If we can fundamentally change the way we eat, we can get rid of the need for so much expense and so much time and effort toward helping people get better, or I should say, helping people live with their illnesses. We can just simply change what they eat, we can help them reverse their conditions and live a healthier life.
Yes, so as you all saw in the video, Dr. Montgomery explained why having a plant-based diet is optimal for people who are experiencing different chronic illnesses and just people in general, why it's important to start now to regain your life back and not have to just, sit and have those ailments and just treat them with the pharmaceuticals, but to actually have a life sentence instead of a death sentence from eating these fruits and vegetables and incorporating them into your life. So I hope you were blessed by this video. I hope you were blessed by this presentation. And thank you for having us, SNAC, here.
Hi, I'm Dr. Baxter Montgomery.
With you all. And without further ado, we're going to give it back to you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you so much, everyone. I just want to say that, as always, whenever SNAC comes into town, they bring a whole lot of information, a whole lot of food for thought. And so at this time, just in case if anyone has any questions, please don't think that they will not be taking questions. These ladies are more than able to handle their own. So we're going to open the floor up for questions at this time. And I encourage you can either unmute yourself and share your questions, or you can move on into the chat and I will be more than happy to read your question.
Hello.
Hello, Angel. Go ahead with your question.
Yes, this is Lakeisha from Atlanta. I had a question. I wanted to know about what are the best fruit to eat for diabetics?
Somebody's muted. They're talking.
Did you guys hear my question?
Can you guys hear me?
Oh, now, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Thank you, Ms. Lakeisha, for your question. In our presentation, we highlighted some really good different vegetables and fruits. I think some of the good ones would be maybe some spinach. Having those leafy greens in your diet is really important because they contain those different antioxidants and have high potassium that can reduce your blood sugar levels. So I think incorporating like different leafy greens would be really important. Also like kale, if I didn't mention that prior. And because they have iron in them also that helps the body use its energy efficiently. And so they have those vitamin C's as well to increase the absorption of nutrients, which can help reduce your blood sugar. Hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Yes, it did.
Okay, an indirect question came in as well. And the question was, is SNAC available for presentations? Can they be contacted and give presentations to different community groups as well as organizations, other organizations?
Yes, ma'am. We are a club that is not only service to our Oakwood community, but also our local community, whether that be within the Huntsville area or virtual. So yes, we are available and we are open to sharing this information with others.
And how can people get in touch with you?
You all can contact me on my Oakwood email. I'm going to put in the chat. So if you guys have any inquiries, we can get you guys on our schedule before the semester ends for sure.
Okay. All right. Jackie has a question.
I have more of a statement. I am a member of the SNAC Fanfare Club, and I want to share with you how wonderful they have been in making presentations to the global community, both youth ambassadors from Africa and from Latin America. And because of the work they've done for Global Ties Alabama, we had a couple of students from Latin America who wanted to apply for admission to Oakwood University. So we just are so thankful to them, the work they do and their professionalism.
Amen. Amen. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, last year when SNAC came and did the presentation, I found out about the pistachios. And there was actually one of the attendees who was working night shifts and also had some insomnia, someone else who had some insomnia issues, and they were able to try the pistachio and that really was helpful to them. So just want to keep on saying thank you so much for the information that is presented. And it goes a long way in terms of promoting good health. And that's what we're all about here with the Abundant Life Health Ministries. And someone has also put in the chat, diabetics best to avoid or limit watermelon and grapes because of high sugar intake in liquid form. And that came from Christina Thomas. Okay, any other questions? I wanted to go back to something that was shared in one of the infographics, where it says that more African American women die from heart disease. Sometimes I'll hear people saying, I really want to eat better, but it seems as if I try to do what everybody else is doing and it doesn't work for me. What are some practical things that people could do to try to make sure they're getting the right nutrients without becoming overwhelmed if they are not plant-based, but they're accustomed going and grabbing a burger and fries for lunch and maybe a steak dinner or some tacos for dinner? What are some practical things that they can do to make that transition?
Okay, I will tackle this one, and some of my colleagues can join as well if they have other suggestions. But I would say to start small, firstly, because I come from a family, we eat meat, but I found that here at Oakwood, being on a vegetarian vegan campus, this was my opportunity to, try something new, learn what I can learn here so I can go home and implement it there, So I started small, and just slowly transitioning from the heavy protein meats, like beef, and maybe doing fish instead of having like a burger, doing salmon. And so also if I do want to eat meat, I would say eat in moderation. If you had beef once that week, maybe you should limit yourself to maybe once a week and not maybe 3 times a week. So I would say just starting small and remembering to just eat in moderation is really important. And if you guys want to add anything, that'd be cool too.
I was gonna say,
Oh no, you can go ahead, Jada. I'll go after you.
Okay. I was gonna say also compromise. Like, I know sometimes you want to get the burger and the fries, but sometimes you can get the burger with the salad or the fries with the salad and things like that. Like Angel said, start out with small substitutions. You don't have to go all in at once. So that would be my suggestion.
I think on top of substitution, it's access. So one of the things that I used to be a really big sweet junkie. But one of the things that I found out about, like for me, is that if I didn't buy the thing, I didn't feel the need to sit down and binge on it. Because, if you buy the bag of cookies or you buy the bag of Oreos, if you're sitting down and doing mindless work, such as schoolwork, you're going to feel the need to just keep eating and keep eating and keep eating. Like really unhealthy snacks, and substituting that. I know that for me, I had ice cream a lot. And so I went from ice cream to popsicles because popsicles have less sugar. And then I went from popsicles to buying frozen fruit so that I could make smoothies. And so I was getting that, that cold, delicious, like sweet taste without all of the sugars and negative effects that I would have where I started with ice cream.
I'm chuckling, Adriana, when you said about doing mindless work in your example. I am sure many students would not agree with you. But
I made a comment once that when I go to the grocery store, especially Publix, when you walk in the door, they have all the unhealthy stuff right in front of you, the cakes and all the cookies and everything. I'm like, okay, So I think it also starts with you have to have a made up mind. If you're committed to doing it, if you really want to improve your health. You were mentioning about African Americans, women and men really, well, especially in the South, because you eat a lot of that soul foods. And a lot of people have a tendency to take shortcuts. I heard one of the young ladies say that she loves cooking. A lot of people these days, they rather just get in the car and go down to Burger King, McDonald's, or one of the fast food. Those are some of the contributions that cause people to have high blood pressures, diabetes, and heart diseases, because I know they were mentioning, talking about beef. Beef is one of those red meats that have high cholesterol. Okay, so if you're going to have meat and you want to start breaking out of the meat thing, Well, you know, there's a commercial with the cows that eat more chicken. But anyway, yes, but you might have to go that way. But the truth is, the way they grow animals these days, in order to fatten them, and you know, when you put that stuff in you, is contributing to a lot of the diseases that we have. Now, I know I'm not a part of the panel, but I guess I just had to give that comment because I have worked in the hospital for many years. And yes, as Dr. Montgomery was saying, yes, it's a good idea. A lot of people don't like to hear the idea of that you should go vegan or you should go meatless. But to be honest, that is really the best diet for you, is to go meatless. Um, and I think it was Angel that said, well, you know, you have to break it down and probably just cut it maybe to once a week. But I think you have to have a plan. It's kind of like every year we go through this thing where we say, okay, it's January, we're going to commit ourselves to exercising. And by the end of January, we really have like broken that commitment. But you have to have a made up mind. And especially, I wouldn't want to wait until I start having health problems. Maybe, you know, you should start doing that because just because you know, and because you know that your body is a temple of the Holy Ghost. And not only that, I have discovered personally that the less meat I eat, as I gradually wean myself off of meat, I found that my mental process increased. I'm a little bit, not that I'm brilliant, but I'm a little bit smarter than I was because I came off the meat. Whatever.
Okay, Adriana?
To go off of that point, my sister and I actually vegan. We became vegan a couple of years ago. And one of the main things that really kind of helped me was having an accountability partner. And so even if you're not going vegan, just for normal health reasons, having an accountability partner to say like, all right, you're picking up this donut. Should you be picking that up? How is that going to help you in the long term with your health goals?
Yeah. I just want to share something that was shared in the presentation. We were looking at those dark berries, you know, the blueberries, blackberries, and things like that. And I know one of the questions that people often ask is, you're saying that I have to get 6 servings of fruit and vegetable? How do I possibly do that? And one of the presenters talked about making the smoothie. You can get a lot of servings with the smoothie. But the other part too, I think Ms. Thomas put in the chat about eating high fiber foods. And so oatmeal is a high fiber food, and you'll be surprised how much that you go and you buy the yogurt that has the fruit in it, but it also has a lot of sugar in it. But if you make your oatmeal, and I tried this with my little grandniece, I would use applesauce to sweeten her oatmeal. And I use the same principle for mine, where I put like the blackberries and the blueberries in it. And so it's like you're having your oatmeal and you have your pumpkin seeds, your blackberries, your blueberries, even your sunflower seeds and some chia and all of that. And it's like each spoonful is like, there's a surprise waiting for you. And you can even take yogurt and put on top of that so that you can have, and you can buy the plant-based yogurts now. But I can attest that a number of the things that they are talking about have been very, very helpful. And not that this is a weight loss presentation, but just by making simple changes, I lost like 20 pounds. And I ate, I actually ate, I think, better than I've eaten before. Okay,
Yeah,
Angel.
I would just like to jump in and just add to what you said, Miss Linda, about having high fiber. I think, you know, another way to incorporate the high fiber, I don't think we really talked about it, but is eating beans and lentils, and, you know, maybe adding them to a salad, or, you know, maybe you having a quesadilla and you add some beans or a burrito, or just, you know, when it's you know, colder outside, like, I mean, it's still kind of cold, but, you know, having soup, you know, with beans in them, or like black eyed peas. And I also mentioned it in the presentation, but eating nuts, like those have a lot of fiber in them. And so like maybe, you know, buying a pack and just keeping it in your car, just something to snack on throughout the day, you'll get that fiber intake as well. If you don't eat oatmeal throughout the day, or maybe blueberries, you'll have, you know, another source where you can get it from.
So is it all right to eat the little the oatmeal out of the little packet? You know, because some of us, you know, like if you eat oatmeal or any porridge and you have any lumps go through, you might head straight for the restroom. I remember my mom, she used to, you think it's funny, my mom loved that stuff. She'd make the wheatina and the all kind of porridges. And she said, hey, it's good for you. And I'll eat it. And the first lump that I would go through, I'd head straight, it's gone. Okay. So I guess it'd be important how you make it too. I actually like oatmeal. And down in the South also, we like to eat that grit stuff. I've tried it. It wasn't all that bad.
Angel.
Yes, I was just gonna say as well, like you having to run to the restroom, you know, after eating one.
Well, I was talking about vomiting. Okay.
Oh Lord.
Not the other stuff.
Well, I would say, like, as far as oatmeal, I used to eat the oatmeal out the packets, the Quaker packets, or like, you know, they might have the not the Whole Food, the Great Value. But I stopped eating those because I realized that a lot of those packets, you know, even though they have a good name brand and may look good, a lot of them have emulsifiers and different like chemicals and different other things in the food that's not relevant to what the food actually is. So, you know, we're supposed to be eating oatmeal. Well, why do I have 20 other ingredients in my food but I'm supposed to be eating oatmeal? Now, granted, some of them are preservatives, but the rest of them are I just feel like are really like unnecessary. And so they have brands where it's literally just oats and, you know, that have been milled. And I think those are better. However, they are more expensive, but I feel like what you're putting in your body is worth it. It's worth the price.
Yeah. And I can say that it's not that much more, like, for example, and I'm gonna talk some money, but $2 and something cents will give you a big container of oats from Kroger. And then, I mean, you can go to the bulk stores, you can go to Costco or Sam's, and then you can get 10 pounds of oats and you spend about, I'll say $9 by the time tax is added on. But 10 pounds of oats will last you a while. And then you also have where you can make granola with your oats, and you can use applesauce or bananas or any of that to make, and dates. And I especially thought it was really nice when you talked about dates and the things that dates can do. I did not know. I just looked at dates before as a sweetener, a natural sweetener. But to find out that dates can do so much more for the body is really, really good. And truly, I might end up using it even more when I make my granola and some of my other baking stuff. So that was really nice to know. Okay, we are in our final few minutes. So if you have any burning questions, now is the time, this is the place to ask them before we begin our wrap up. We have literally about 3 minutes. Oh, we see smiling faces. Thank you so much.
Well, let me ask the question.
Okay.
Is there a difference as to which kind of grapes or what color grapes you eat, or grapes?
Well, I know that different types of grapes have the same function, I should say, or, you know, same chemicals, but there are ones that have, nutrients, excuse me, but there are ones, I think they're the red grapes, and they have retrozole, I think that's how you pronounce it. And that is where they provide more of a protection against cancer, or they like cleanse your cells of the cancer. Oh, excuse me. But I believe they're in all grapes, whether they're green or red, but I remember learning specifically about red grapes and them having that in there. I'll type the word in the chat so you guys can get more information on it.
Okay. I would like to thank SNAC, Jada Caldwell, Angel Smith, and Disa Labossiere, and I'm here hunting on the screen because I'm missing Adriana. Just want to thank you for coming and sharing that wealth of information with us. It's always a joy to have you with us, and we hope that you will consider joining us again. I know that seniors time is coming on down, so 2023 might look a bit different face-wise, but we trust that you will put in a good word for us here at Abundant Life so that the tradition can continue with the SNAC organization at Oakwood, coming and sharing more information with us. At this time, we are going to close off with a word of prayer. And for those of you who would like to see this presentation as well as other presentations, there are a number of other presentations that will be in the folder, which will be shared with you. So you will be able to see this and other presentations. We will also post this to YouTube, our Abundant Life SDA Church YouTube page, and that way you can go back and you can watch it. Next month, our presentations are the first Sabbath, the first Saturday of each month. And next month, we will be focusing on the health benefits of knowing God's purpose for your life and living in that purpose. Our presenter is Nicole Sobers, and she'll be coming to us from Barbados. And for those of you who are interested in joining us from month to month, we have Dr. Julie Hayek from Uchee Pines, who will be presenting on June 4th. On July 2nd, we have Dr. Alwyn Graham, who will be looking at promoting mental health. And on August 6th, we have Fran Gourdet. And September 3rd, we have Dr. Jennifer Jill Switzer. October 1st, Dr. Cheryl Rock joins us, and she'll be focusing on functional foods. In November, we have Lillian Red Cross Blake, and in December, we'll have Dr. Earl Henry, and that is our current lineup. So if you would like to join us, that's the first Saturday, the first Sabbath of each month, where you can use the same link and come on in. We will be blessed to have you, and feel free to share the information. The goal is to just have everyone get more information about living a healthier lifestyle so that they can truly prosper and be in good health as their soul prospers. So let's bow our heads for a word of prayer. Dear Lord, our Heavenly Father, you have been so good to us. Father, we were able to see this day of life, your blessed Sabbath, the day of rest, the day that we could come apart, dear Father, and we could spend with you, and we could learn more about what you would have us to do. Father, thank you for allowing your maidservants, dear Father, to come by and share this wealth of information with us. Father, we were truly blessed. And we ask, oh Lord, that you will continue to give each of them wisdom, knowledge, understanding, and discernment. We ask, dear Father, that they will be a blessing to their families, to their communities, to everyone in their sphere of influence. And that, Lord, you will give them a Holy Ghost power, that they will go forward boldly and spread the word, dear Father, in their various professions. And Father, that they will see that they are counted worthy, that they, dear Father, have been bought with a price, and they are covered by your blood. Thank you, Lord, for their sacrifice in doing this work. And may they, dear Father, continue to give you all the glory, honor, and praise And may each person, dear Father, on this line and their families also receive a blessing. And, dear Lord, draw closer to you. And when all is said and done, Father, may we look truly to you and say, praise it, O Lord God, you have come. Please take us home. And we ask these things in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.